We are going to talk a little bit now about energy policy, and I always have to precede these interviews with the disclosure that I sit on the board of Carter Craven Electric. So this is something that's of interest to me in particular, but I think it should be of interest for everyone, and we always take a look at different energy policy that's out there. The new book is out called Fueling Freedom, Exposing the Mad War on Energy, and joining us this morning is one of the co-authors of that. Kathleen White is with us. Good morning, Kathleen. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
And where are you, by the way?
I am in Texas.
Oh, welcome. Welcome to the program. Where in Texas?
Well, my workplace is in Austin, and I live in a lovely rural area just below Austin.
Okay, yeah, Austin's a beautiful city too. Austin and Raleigh have a lot in common. I think a lot of folks that travel back and forth between the two say that. And again, welcome to the program. The name of the book is called Fueling Freedom. What is this all about?
Well, it's about we have come at the same point in time with two radically different forces at play, which really certainly affect our country and really affect the whole world. And one of those is after 30 years of evolution, climate policies institutionalized in our binding federal rule and all kinds of programs that literally intend to eliminate fossil fuels as rapidly as possible. At the same time, we have just in the last half a dozen years, a remarkable event I call the shale revolution, where some people just think it was an oil boom that now is bust because of a glutted market. But it's a technological revolution that has given us access to what's really the mother lode of oil and gas resources in the ground. Conventional drilling would maybe get 1 to 10% of the resource within a particular geological foundation, and all the shale technologies really give us access to what geologists call the source rock. It's an enormous accomplishment. So we have two paths here that I don't know whether they have collided full force, but in fact they could not be more different paths for our country and the world, indeed, to follow.
I think one of the things that you point out here about this being a war on energy is that we see lip service paid to this idea of a comprehensive energy policy that includes all types of fuels, et cetera, when it really doesn't. When folks in power are talking about comprehensive energy policy, that means more expensive, less reliable policy needs to be energy needs to be moving up to the front of the and the most reliable, least expensive needs to move to the back.
Actually, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's interesting to note within the last year, but particularly within the last few months, as we have national political campaigns going, that the I hate to call people left or right. I'm not in a political work. I'm in policy, but those on the left and in still holding the reins of government no longer view natural gas as what people used to call a bridge fuel to the cleaner fuels of the future. Right. In fact, the language in the Democratic policy platform is the future belongs to solar and wind energy, and it has, and in other ways they're more explicit about saying, and that to really eliminate from the policy mix, from the energy mix, natural gas, or I feel coal and natural gas, but just to count on wind and solar alone, that's not even close to being capable of providing us the amount and quality and reliability of the energy services that flow through our lives all day, every day.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. But also, I was reading some reports talking about how while Secretary of State Hillary Clinton actually helped to aid the transfer of some of the technology of fracking to other countries, while then, as a candidate, wanting to downplay and to actually even severely restrict fracking in this country.
Yeah, she said she would regulate it so much here that it would be a defunct moratorium on natural gas, and again, just referring to some of the headlines. And she says she's going to put in 500 million solar panels within 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'll cool the earth right there. It'll cover so much ground. Earth won't be able to absorb all the rays.
Good point.
But this is this is actually, I have to credit my own education with Carter Craven Electric, being associated with the co-op, being educated about what base generation is, and that's what a lot of people, you're not expected to understand it, but a lot of people just don't understand. Even many of the activists for alternative energy, I don't oppose. I'd like to see us on our smaller scale, more local windmills or solar projects. I'm all in favor of looking at research into that and more affordable and efficient ways of doing that. But base generation, in other words, will the power come on when you turn the light on?
Right.
That's something that's not understood.
No, and it's a marvel of our electric system. Our traditional sources of electric generation, and coal has long been the most dominant. They can ramp up or ramp down. They're engineers call them, they're dispatchable.
Mm-hmm.
Electricity is such a cool thing. The amount of demand has to mirror in an exacting way the amount of generation.
Right.
It's a very precise thing, and it constantly has to be in balance. And we have a system that is, because of the reliability, the controllability of coal and natural gas, we've developed a system which can do that with great precision.
It's a remarkable machine. It really is. But back to again, this idea of this war on this as well too, and now I'll applaud people like Musk, who's developing, who's trying to develop batteries. But that battery production takes a tremendous amount of energy to do that. The carbon footprint on that is huge to create batteries that will store this renewable energy and keep it when available when the sun goes down, for example, or the wind's not blowing.
Well, as the same point can be made about the amount of steel and concrete that goes into anchoring and fabricating wind turbines, massive amounts, much more than is utilized by a natural gas plant or even a coal plant. And I agree with you on, efforts to develop breakthrough technologies for the future, but I think we've had enough years of very lavish subsidies, steadily increasing, that is, I don't think, the best path to really igniting those breakthrough technologies. If you have no risk in the game and just more and more federal subsidies, which is taxpayers' money.
Right.
I don't think that's the way we're going to get to the so-called fuels of the future. Even Bill Gates has said that. He long invested many of his billions in just deploying more and more wind and solar facilities using their current technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, he said, "Hey, this is not going to work. It's not going to work."
And but the industry that actually is leading the way in a more sensible way is the car industry. The big fossil fuel drinker is with hybrid technologies are finding some really appropriate ways to look at how to be good stewards of energy.
And I'd add, and I was a former environmental regulator, signed the enforcement orders and signed the permits. And something also forgotten in this discussion on energy in the broad sense is that another breakthrough is over the last 15 to 20 years, industry has developed remarkably effective emission control technologies, which have really reduced the amount of what I call real pollutants that can impact human health.
Right.
Carbon dioxide does not impact your health. In fact, it's a necessary atmospheric gas for plant growth.
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm baffled by, that whole rise of that as a pollutant. But anyway, the idea, and also the other idea that that hydroelectric power is not considered renewable. That just baffles me. But there's a lot of things. Again, it's the power of politics and money. Follow the money. Follow where that goes is what is driving so much. And one of the things that also is a point that needs to be brought out now and then is that the people who are so many times the people who are advocating for a more stricter sense of this are also have more gadgets than Inspector Gadget. I mean, they're plugging in and getting recharged at every step. So we have to be careful that we are, when we talk about being good stewards, that we are following a straight line here, not a crooked line to that goal. Again, the book is called Fueling Freedom, and it's available through Regnery Press. I imagine this is out and available everywhere now?
And yeah, on Amazon.com. It's been in cost. I don't know whether it's still there, but and also, as you mentioned, directly from Regnery Publisher.
All right. Kathleen White, a co-author of Fueling Freedom, Exposing the Mad War on Energy. We'll have more to come in a moment here on Coastal Daybreak here on the Talk Station, FM 107 and AM 1240.